In this video, I'm going to go over how to format your paper for an annotated bibliography in MLA format. So I'm going to demo how to do that and kind of use this template to talk about the formatting. But there's a step-by-step guide in your assignment for you to use along with this sample. So I made a copy of the sample so I can edit over it. At the top, you have a header in MLA format. You have your header, which is just your last name and the page number. And again, in the other document, it tells you where, how to enter the header and page number. I think most of you know that part already, so I'm going to not go into detail on that. And then the header is the same as you often use for your MLA papers, for class other papers, where you have your name, instructor's name, course number, and the date. The date needs to be formatted day, month, year, no punctuation. All of it's in Times New Roman 12-point font, right? And I can see my fonts up here, Times New Roman 12-point, and everything is double spaced. So the spacing, before you get started, you might even just, in the very beginning of the document, make sure your spacing is set correctly to double space. Prevent single lines. I always like to go to custom spacing and make sure the paragraph before and after are 0. In Google Docs and Microsoft Word, the custom setting or the default settings are often slightly different. So it should be line spacing 2, 0 before and after. So I have my header, and then I press Enter on my keyboard. I'm going to press that twice because I want an extra space between the date and this next part of the annotated bibliography. So this part is specific for the annotated bibliography. You want to have your topic, and then your research question or thesis, depending on what your instructor asks you to include. So for our paper here, we're using the question because we haven't really gotten to the point of synthesis and creating a thesis. It's more exploratory research and looking at what's out there and annotating our findings. I hit Enter twice again, so that I now have another line, and this line is going to be centered, and it's simply called Annotated Bibliography. Do not use any fancy fonts. Do not give a title to your annotated bibliography. It's just an annotated bibliography. And then I have one space, and I have my first bibliographic entry. So below that, each entry has 2 parts. You have the bibliographic entry, and then you're going to have the annotation. The annotation, in this case, will be a summary and an evaluation of the article. And so every entry has those elements in it. If I scroll through, you can see that. What to include in the paragraphs is in another document in your assignment. There's guiding questions for the first and second paragraph that you'll write about each article included in your annotated bibliography. So the bibliographic entry, as I scroll through, you also hopefully notice that we have these hanging indentations. So this first line is out to the left margin, and the rest is indented in, and the paragraphs are also have a different margin than that first line. And that makes it easy for me to scroll through and find where a new entry begins. So if I were doing research, or if I'm, as a teacher and I want to see the items that you have, or I'm referencing different items, maybe looking for a certain article or author, this allows me to quickly scroll through and find it. You will also notice that those entries, just like in a works cited list, would be are in alphabetical order. And so, the annotated bibliography is really simply a works cited list with these paragraphs in between, those annotations. So one of the most difficult parts is the formatting, because you have 2 different types of margin settings that you need to have here. And so the first, this is already set. So I have my entry, it starts in the left margin, and then it indents, versus a regular paragraph where we indent and then everything is at the left margin. When I get to my paragraphs, it's going to be the normal indentation, but the left margin needs to be equal with the indentation of the hanging indentation of the bibliographic entry. So if I go into an article, so I'm going to go to my Gale folder where I have some articles downloaded. And so here's an article that's been annotated and downloaded. I'm going to open it in Google Docs because what I'm going to do is copy my citation from here and put it into the document, and I'm going to show you how I change it to the proper formatting. So if I copy it from Google Docs, it reduces kind of the amount of formatting errors versus if I do it from the Word doc or a PDF. Be careful because sometimes things like apostrophes are turned into, other types of punctuation or letters because the formatting is different. So make sure you double check all your entries for accuracy, correctness, and proper formatting. So if I go in here, so I'm going to start with the left margin, and I'm just going to paste in my citation. And as you can see, the formatting is completely different and off. So I'm going to just start by doing some basic changes to the formatting. I'm going to highlight the whole thing. And first thing I want to change is the font to Times New Roman, and I want it to be 12 points. And I'm going to change to that double line spacing. So I'm going to change that to 2 and 0, 0. And now I need to change the indentation. So I'm going to go into the Format menu here, and I'm going to go to Line and Indent, and I want to go to Indentation Options. And down here, to Special, I want to use the hanging indentation, a 0.5 point. So that means that the first line is going to be all the way to the left, 0, the right margin 0, and then the hanging indentation is going to be half a inch. So I do that and I can see it correctly indents. Now this space here, visually, it really bothers me and I always feel like it's an error. So I just go backspace 1 and space and make sure that that's how it's supposed to be. And it does break it there because it is that really long hyperlink. And so even though it looks wrong and it's visually not pleasing, it is correct. Do not try to fix it in some way because that will mess up your formatting. So now I need to format underneath that the paragraph. If I just press enter, it goes all the way back to the left margin, but I want my paragraph to start here with the hanging indentation and indent a 0.5 inch. So I'm going to go back to format. I'm going to go back to align and indent and indentation options. And again, these menus and how to find them are in the step-by-step document that is attached to your assignment along with the rubric. So now I'm going to change it back to, I don't want hanging indentation. I want it to be the first line only that is indented, like a regular paragraph. That's going to be a 0.5 inch. But my left margin, I want to match the indentation for the hanging indentation. So that's going to also be a 0.5 inch. So when I go to the paragraph, I want it to be, the left margin is a 0.5 inch in. And then from there, it's going to indent the first line of the paragraph in 0.5 inch. So I can see my cursor automatically goes there, and then I can type in my first paragraph. Oops. Okay, and you can see as I type, it automatically goes back to that 0.5 inch left margin for the paragraph. And then when I start my second paragraph, right, it makes a new paragraph with the indentation. And then when I'm ready to do my next citation, I will have to go back to that same indentation option. I'm going to, again, changing to hanging indent, 0. And then I'm going to paste in, I know that's the same one I just did, but, I'll paste in my citation and then kind of, start all over again with that process. I'm going to go back to but notice one thing I do want you to notice is like between the citations, there's no extra space, right? It just remains that double spacing. I don't put that extra space kind of like I did up here between the date and topic, the question and the title. So I'm just going to go through that again. I'm going to change my line spacing to double. I'm going to go back to my alignment. I'm going to do my hanging indentation again, 1/2 inch. Whoops, I don't know what happened there. That got, oh, okay, 1/2 inch. And I'm going to change that. And then, you know, again, I'm going to go here, format, indentation. I'm going to get rid of the, I'm going to do the first line and then that 0.5 from the left. And then I'm ready to type my next paragraph.